And again, Lou and I would like to welcome you all to this week's travel edition of the Lunch Club. We'll be taking a trip to Ecuador. Again, thank you so much, Lou, and the floor is yours. And be sure to stay on, you all, for trivia at the end. Thank you so much.
Great. Well, especially because I have Nathan Gomez from DACL sitting right next to me. Can you all share with Nathan where we start our trip every single Friday? What location do we start out at?
On 7.
Office of Aging.
We start out the Office of Aging, right.
Surveillance.
We start out the Office of Aging. So I'm going to shift laptops here and we'll start the presentation. So here we go. I'm going to shift my laptop to give me just 1 second.
Thank you. And please make sure you keep your TVs and cell phones in mind. Thank you so much.
Great. Can you all hear me now?
You're good to go, Lou.
Hey, you're good.
Okay. Great. Okay, so here we are at the Department of Aging. And so today we're heading to Ecuador. So the first thing we're going to do, of course, is we're going to go over to Union Station. So let's do that. Just a moment. I got to get this icon off of here. So we're going to go over to Union Station. We know where that is because of all the railroad tracks end right there. And then we're going to take the red line to the silver line or the green line. I'm not sure what line it is. And we're going to go to Dulles Airport because most international flights leave out of Dulles. And Dulles is easy to find because it's such a big spot. And then we're going to gain altitude. In what direction do we fly, folks? Which direction? South.
South.
So most flights to Ecuador connect through Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And folks, I think Spirit Airlines is flying through Ecuador now, believe it or not. I'm a big fan of Spirit Airlines, as you know. Yeah, you can probably get there for under $100 one way nowadays on Spirit.
What?
Yep. So they connect.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Check Spirit Airlines. They got specials all the time. So then we're going to land in Fort Lauderdale, and then we're going to take off again to catch our next flight down to Ecuador. So Ecuador is a pretty interesting place. It's one of only 2 countries in South America that does not touch Brazil. Remember that from our trivia about Brazil?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and land in the capital of Ecuador, which is Quito, Ecuador. I've never been to Ecuador, though I've heard it's a beautiful, beautiful place. So without further ado, I'm going to just move this over. I'm going to stop my sharing, and then I'm going to have a look at the video on Ecuador. So just one moment, folks, and we will share the video. Okay, so this is a little bit about the history of Ecuador.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mr. This is South America, and here is Ecuador. Now let's open the door to Ecuador, shall we? As the Ice Age began to melt and South America started to thaw, the people began stepping in, marching or canoeing down from the north and nestling into Ecuador. Ecuador is one of the very few mega-diverse nations in the world, meaning there's a lot of different plants and animals. And the first Ecuadorians seem to have eaten all of them. Anteater pie, anyone? One of the early cultures to be born here was the Valdivia, who lived along the coast and fished and crafted rather clever ceramics, among the oldest in the Americas. Over time, many different cultures sprouted up across the land, fighting and trading with each other, some of them practicing that strange and curious custom called artificial cranial deformation, in which young children had flat stones bound to their heads to change the shape, elongating the skull. Why? There's theories, but no certainties. In 1463, the Inca Empire of Peru began encroaching into Ecuador and conquered most of it by 1500. Many peoples of Ecuador did not like the Inca ruling over them and forcing the Quechua language onto them, and were actually happy when the Spanish arrived in the 1530s and defeated the Inca. Many Amerindians succumbed to introduced sicknesses as the Spanish set up cities and estates on which the natives toiled, and the Jesuits learned native languages and trekked deep into the Amazon to share the gospel with the natives, many of whom had the habit of collecting human heads and shrinking them. So the centuries passed and the language and culture of Spain permeated throughout Ecuador, but the love of Spain itself was not so deeply embedded in the national mindset, and Ecuador ended up joining the other colonies in fighting for independence against Spain in the early 19th century. The cause for Ecuadorian liberation began in the port city of Guayaquil in 1820 and soon spread, and Spain was defeated 2 years later. In 1830, Ecuador was independent. Probably the best known part of Ecuador is the Galapagos Islands, that curious volcanic archipelago whose strange and wonderful animals put ideas into the head of a young Englishman named Charles Darwin as he visited the islands. Ecuador immediately underwent internal struggles. The countryside, dominated by the city of Quito, was largely conservative, and the coast, dominated by Guayaquil, was largely liberal, and they both had their various grudges, and the quarreling country's governors bickered and fought. This strong and determined face belonged to Gabriel Garcia Moreno. Years earlier, he had witnessed firsthand the dangers of liberalism in the 1848 revolutions in Europe, and he would establish Ecuador's Conservative Party. Above all, he wanted his divided nation to be unified, which was currently fragmented by race, class, language, and politics. The one thing people had in common was Roman Catholic Christianity, and Moreno would make this one of the two focuses of his regime, the other being himself as a firm, steadfast head of state. Moreno oversaw economic improvements. Roads were paved, railways, hospitals, and schools were built, but the liberals' hatred of him was undimmed as they lambasted him in the press as a dictator, and in 1875 he was assassinated by a Colombian with a machete. Even so, it took the liberals 20 years to muster enough strength to get control, which they did in 1895 with this man, Eloy Alfaro. Secularism was encouraged, church properties were confiscated, and I'm sure it was pure coincidence they ended up in liberal leaders' hands. Alfaro continued the building program, but he had enemies too and ended up kicked out of office and then killed by being forcibly dragged along cobbled streets before his body was burned in 1912. By the 1920s, the economy was in an abject state, not helped by a fungal infection of cocoa plants, which were the most important export. The army took control, but nothing was really solved. Oddly enough, the country began to see improvements in the middle of World War II, where rising prices and demand for its raw materials saw the country do a lot better. But Ecuador's hazy territorial claims in the Amazon were challenged by Peru, who invaded in 1941 and gobbled up a lot of land, and Ecuador's minuscule army could do nothing about it. But Ecuador never forgot this outrage, and 2 more conflicts would result from it. After a number of military leaders in the 1970s, this man was elected, a reformer highly concerned with human rights, who died 2 years later in a mysterious plane crash. Ecuador's troubles persisted as presidents rose and fell without providing any solutions. In 2001, the unpopular national adoption of the US dollar actually brought some fiscal stability. The socialist Rafael Correa ushered in numerous liberal policies, and while the standard of living improved, there was recession and numerous protests, notably from Amerindian groups angered at their forest lands being sold to China. In 2012, he offered asylum to WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, something his successor Moreno revoked in 2019, leading to Assange's prompt arrest. Ecuador has a lot of difficulties ahead, but many advancements have been made and are underway, and the country has reached a high level of human development and a growing economy. So that's it for Ecuador, and that's all from me for now. Bye-bye!
Any thoughts about that, folks? That was pretty interesting.
A lot of instability, though.
Damn.
Yeah. You don't want to be president of that country.
Yeah, all I can say is damn.
Yeah. All right. Well,
But
let's
that was a bit much, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah, that's
execute
good
people
stuff.
and setting somebody on fire and dragging them through the street. That sounds like something cave people might have done.
That's some straight. That's some good stuff there, my goodness.
Yeah, that was.
Damn.
It's not giving us any ideas over here. We got
Yeah,
election
no,
day.
because I could think of a few people.
All right. Well, great job, everybody. So let's jump into the next video here. And before I do that, let me just cue it up. So let's take a minute and look over some of the best places to go in Ecuador, looking more on the positive side now. Everybody see it okay?
You're fine, Lou. Thank you.
Ecuador is a small country in South America, but it makes up for its small size by boasting all the wonders in it. With scenic landscapes, indigenous cultures, and colonial architecture, Ecuador is one of the most fascinating countries in the Americas. It attracts almost 18 million tourists every year from around the world. In today's video, let's find out the top 10 most beautiful places in Ecuador and see this massive number of tourists visit Ecuador. Number 10. Tina. The city of Tina, the seat of the province of Napo, is a great spot to visit if you want to see some of the enormous Amazon basin. Tina, Ecuador's cinnamon capital, was founded by missionaries not long after the Spanish arrived in South America and is becoming a more popular vacation destination owing to its various adventure options, jungle expeditions into the Amazon, as well as river trips, including whitewater rafting and canoeing, are all highlights. Kayaking along the Tina, Misahuali, and Napo rivers, the last of which runs straight into the Amazon, is another popular activity. Tina also has a fantastic pedestrian bridge and tower high above the Tina River that offers wonderful views of the city for those who prefer their river action a bit smoother. Number 9. Otavalo. The lovely village of Otavalo is nestled in a nice valley surrounded by mountains. The town's main attraction is its great market, which is one of South America's largest, where residents and visitors alike come to buy colorful, locally manufactured rugs and blankets, sweaters, purses, and other wool goods made by the indigenous Otavelos people. The distinctive tagua nut jewelry, leather products, indigenous costumes, and a variety of fascinating culinary items are also noteworthy. Locally grown spices are among the most intriguing of them. If you come in June, be sure to attend the famed Inti Raymi, also known as the Sun Event, music festival, which features a variety of local performers and their distinct instruments and melodies. Number 8. The Banos Hot Springs. The little hamlet of Banos de Agua Santa is a popular tourist destination in central Ecuador. Thanks to its beautiful surroundings and abundant hot springs, Banos is located in lush jungle-like woods on the western side of the Amazon basin and provides a variety of leisure possibilities, including hiking and mountain biking. The mineral-rich hot springs and many waterfalls are the main attractions. Some of the most spectacular waterfalls are easily accessible from town via a network of paths that include rope bridges that provide breathtaking views of the falls and their deep pools. Whitewater rafting and kayaking are prominent adventure activities in this area. Visiting sites such as the Virgin de Agua Santa Church, which has a famous statue of Mary, is a more tranquil option. Shopping for local items is another thing to do at Banos de Agua Santa. The brightly carved balsa parrots are among the most popular Ecuador souvenirs available here. Make sure to try some of the town's famed melcoca, a sort of cane sugar sweet. Number 7. La Nariz del Diablo. A trip to La Nariz del Diablo, which means the devil's nose, should be on everyone's bucket list. This magnificent section of the Andes Mountains near the town of Alaus is best seen aboard one of the country's excellently preserved trains, whether you're a train fan or not. The 12-kilometer round-trip ride to Nariz del Diablo is probably one of the most popular of a network that spans across the nation to some of the country's most picturesque places. A magnificent observation ride on board a train that zigzags through a number of switchbacks as it climbs the mountains near vertical sides to the viewing station at the summit is one of the highlights. You will get the opportunity to learn about the Andes' rich culture along the route. Number 6. Guayaquil. The Pacific port of Guayaquil, Ecuador's largest city by population, is well known as the entrance to the Galapagos Islands. In addition to its numerous historic monuments, Guayaquil offers excellent shopping and entertainment opportunities in its many gorgeous squares and plazas, as well as along its beautiful shoreline. The beautiful Malecon 2000, a 2.5 kilometer long promenade close to the Guayas River, is a highlight for people who like exploring on foot. This extraordinary urban regeneration project travels down the river's west side past many of the city's finest attractions, making it one of the world's most memorable promenades. You'll pass by a number of significant historical monuments, gardens, museums, and entertainment venues along the route. Take a tour boat up the river in the evening for a genuine treat when the city is lighted up to stunning effect. Number 5. Cuenca. Cuenca, formerly known as Santa Ana de los Cuatro Rios de Cuenca, is a lovely city in southern Ecuador. This lovely city, which has a population of 660,000 people, is a joy to visit and explore on foot. The city, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is rich in colonial influences and architectural marvels that span 400 years and include both Spanish and Indian influences. Many of Cuenca's major attractions are the old city center, including the old Cathedral of Cuenca, which is one of the most popular, the ancient organ from 1739, the tower clock from 1751, and the Museum for Religious Art were all built in 1567 using stones taken from the adjacent Inca structures. The enormous new Cathedral of Cuenca is well worth seeing. Its 3 times magnificent blue tile domes, which date back to the 1960s, make it difficult to overlook. The Church of San Sebastian is also worth visiting. It's a combination of Gothic and neoclassical features. Number 4. Quito. Quito, Ecuador's capital, is nestled high in the Andes and is the largest historic town in South America, featuring well-preserved specimens of colonial architecture. The 1.6 million person city has long been a favorite of craftsmen and is a fantastic location to buy for local art and crafts, from pottery and wood carvings to colorful clothes, and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its numerous ancient cathedrals, gorgeous public squares, and world-class museums. The San Francisco Church on Plaza San Francisco is the most well-known site in Quito's historic district. The church's whitewashed twin towers, which date from the first half of the 1500s, flank each other off the vast complex's entryway. The Convent Museum of San Francisco, which houses religious paintings, sculptures, carvings, ceramics, fabrics, and handcrafted furniture, is famous for its beautiful Baroque decor. Number 3. Quilotoa Loop. The Quilotoa Loop is a multi-day self-guided walk in Ecuador's Andes highlands. Many travelers who wish to trek in Ecuador must do so. The Quilotoa Loop, a path that takes tourists through several of Ecuador's isolated Andean communities, is a must-see for hikers who like walking in the backcountry. Hikers can trek the loop in 4 days, although it can be done in less time if they take a bus between places. However, they will lose out on some old routes if they do so. In Quilotoa, the views of a crater lake are nothing short of breathtaking. Throughout the week, villages hold vibrant markets, with San Quisili's Thursday market being one of the best. Number 2. The Salinas. Ecuador is primarily renowned for ecotourism and adventure travel, but it also has a variety of gorgeous beaches worth visiting. You'll be spoiled for choice, whether you're looking for a quick break from touring or a base for a prolonged sun, beach, and sea holiday. The coastal city of Salinas, located a little west of Guayaquil and enjoying a consistently mild temperature year-round, is one of the most popular places owing to its many beach resorts. Number 1, the Galapagos Islands. The Galapagos Islands have captivated and inspired people from all over the world since its discovery in the 16th century. The UNESCO World Heritage Site, named for the island's giant tortoises, is home to the unique ecology that has evolved mainly without outside influences. That's mainland Ecuador lies some 1,000 kilometers to the east. As a result, a trip to this pristine region provides an unparalleled chance for animal observation on land and in the surrounding oceans. You may witness a variety of unusual animals. The Galapagos Islands remain one of the world's most active volcanic areas, and the island's creation is continuously ongoing. In the 1950s, the Galapagos National Park was established, including the majority of the 13 main islands, 6 smaller islands, and 42 islets that make up the Galapagos. Visiting this endangered environment is only possible as part of a guided trip to designated tourist locations, which is understandable. Visitors can, however, travel to a small place without a guide, including ones popular with scuba divers. The wonderland of a country sits proudly in the South American continent.
All right, folks. Well, that was pretty good. Any thoughts, questions? I don't want to be taking that train. I don't know if you saw that rickety old train going up the mountain. I'll pass on that one. Any other thoughts?
Ooh, what the animals? Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
what
Well,
that
folks,
little red thing?
I might have time for one more quick video. So let me do a quick one here about what Ecuador is like today and some of its challenges, and then we'll go to trivia. So here we go.
Ecuador is at war with drug gangs. The South American country declared what it called an internal armed conflict after gunmen took over a TV studio and launched a series of attacks. Fighting intensified after a top gang leader escaped from prison on Sunday, prompting a 60-day state of emergency. Here's what's caused Ecuador's wave of violence and what's at stake for the region and the US as gangs fight for control of lucrative cocaine trafficking routes.
Ecuador has been going through a surge of violence over the last 3 or 4 years. It's gone from one of the safest countries in Latin America to one of the most violent, and that's due to the drug trade. On Sunday, what happened is that a lot of the drug gangs, their leaders are located in the prisons, and one of the leaders of one of the biggest gangs in Ecuador escaped from prison on Sunday. That prompted a response from the new president, Daniel Noboa, who issued a state of emergency and sent in law enforcement to try to take control of the prisons. A day after that happened, on Tuesday, another gang members took over a TV station in Guayaquil, the biggest city. Then different incidents that occurred, kind of car bombs, police were kidnapped. It seemed like a very coordinated response to the government to try to send a message. President Daniel Noboa, who's only been in office since November, he declared an internal armed conflict in Ecuador. So what that practically means is that the military will now have a greater role in trying to improve security. So basically the gangs become military targets. The soldiers are able to try to neutralize them. The root of this wave of violence is an increasing drug trade. Drugs flowing in from Colombia, mainly that are going up to Europe and the United States. They are now moving into Ecuador. A lot of the cocaine production in Colombia is on the border with Ecuador. The security experts say that it's actually easier for Colombian gangs to move the drugs into Ecuador rather than straight out of Colombia. Ecuador has really good roads, has really good infrastructure, has little security at the ports. Ecuador also is a dollarized economy. So that makes it easier for drug gangs to launder their money into the country. And that has, attracted a lot of attention from international cartels, Mexican cartels, Albanian cartels, for example. And it has resources for the local gangs who are now controlling this at the same.
All right. Well, that's enough of that, I guess, folks. So clearly they're dealing with some drug issues over there right now.
Bad news.
Mm-hmm.
All around the world, huh, Lou?
That's the
Uh-huh.
truth. That's the truth. All right, so it's our time now for our favorite part of the program. So let me just a moment to fire this up here.
Thank you, Lou, for the videos. I saw you use some of the ones I sent you. I
Oh,
appreciate
thank
that.
you. Oh, yes, thank you, Alex. Thank you so much.
No problem. Yeah, Ecuador is quite a country, but you can find the good in anything, right? While Luke cues up the trivia, as always, we are going to be utilizing our raising of our hands to do our trivia. First person that raises their hand gets to answer, and if they're correct, they're in the running for a prize today. So please raise your hand in Zoom to practice for this game, for this trivia. You tap more at the top right, and then you hit raise hand. Or if your Zoom is updated, you hit reactions at the bottom, and then you hit raise hand. Okay. So again, just a minute or so. Let's see how many hands we can get in 1 minute. Appreciate that. We have 5 so far. So again, you can hit more at the top right and then hit raise hand. Or you can, if your Zoom is updated, hit reactions at the bottom and then hit raise hand. Wow, 10 so far, about 11. Thank you, half the group. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. You all can lower your hands by hitting lower at the bottom. So don't forget to lower your hand so we can make sure we hear from everyone. Okay, thank you. Really appreciate that. And Lou, as always, I look forward to the trivia, and let's see who wins a prize today.
All right, well, here we go. First question is, what famous theory was born in Ecuador and where was it born?
Okay, wow, that was pretty fast, Mr. Harold. What is your answer? For both, think you need both parts?
Theory of evolution, the Galapagos Islands.
All right, good job.
Good job, Mr. Harold.
Galapagos Islands are famous thanks to Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. The theory is centered around the finches of the island. Darwin examined the way the same species of bird had evolved differently on the 21 different islands of the Galapagos. It is a fact of Ecuador that Darwin's research put them on the map. So great job, great job.
Thank you, Mr. Harold. You're in the
Okay,
right prize today.
good job, Mr. Harold. Question 2. What globally famous food originated in Ecuador? This is a really famous food, and it comes from Ecuador. You can't get much more famous than this food.
Please raise your hand if you would like to answer. Brenda, thank you. What is your answer?
Ceviche.
Who?
So isn't it ceviche? CEVICHE?
No, that's not what I'm thinking of, but that's
Okay.
a good guess, though.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. And any other takers? Please raise your hand. Okay, and what is your answer?
Well, it says seafood, and ceviche was one of the famous seafood dishes. And some soups. So that was what I saw.
Okay.
No, that's a good guess, but I'm looking for something more famous than that. So famous that every country on earth knows about it.
Thank you again, Ando. Any other takers? All right, Miss Thompson, what is your answer?
I can't pronounce it. ENCETA.
No, that's not it. That's not it, Brenda. That's a good guess. This food,
Okay.
think about a food. I'll give you a hint. It's a fruit. It starts out as a fruit, and
Okay.
every country in the world knows about this fruit.
Okay, Miss Clement, what is your answer? You gotta hit unmute in the middle.
Yeah, it's cocoa.
Wow, yes, chocolate.
Miss Clement, thank you.
Good job.
You got it. Thank you.
Cocoa originated in Ecuador. Can you believe that? Chocolate, 5,000 years ago. Isn't that amazing? And think about the African nations now that are the cocoa nations that survive and thrive because of the cocoa growth. Unfortunately, there's a lot of exploitation too in the cocoa industry. But it came from Ecuador. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
Okay, next question. Here we go. Good job. Name the colors of the Ecuador flag and what they represent.
Great question.
That's a Google question if I ever heard one.
Again, please raise your hand if you would like to answer. So each color and what they each represent. Okay, and thank you.
I'm trying to lower my raise my hand instead of doing what I was supposed to do. Okay, the red is for the bloodshed by the soldiers and martyrs of the battles of independence. The blue represents the color of the ocean and the sky, and the yellow symbolizes the abundance and fertility of the harvests and the land.
All right, good job. There you are. Yay.
I read very well.
Thank you so much.
Nice, good job. Okay, next question. Here we go. Ecuador is the world's largest exporter of what famous food? So it's no longer chocolate, even though it came from there. There's countries in Africa that export more. But this food, in some ways, is even more famous than chocolate, believe it or not.
Okay, thank you. Cassandra, what is your answer?
Bananas.
Woo!
Cassandra.
Look at that. Can you believe that? Bananas.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Thank you.
There might be the most famous food in the whole world is a banana. So they represent 27% of all bananas in the world. I mean, that's unbelievable. 27%.
There's a lot of challenges with that nowadays with climate change and things of that nature. So we got to save the bananas.
Yeah, I love bananas myself. I love banana trees. I love banana trees. They're so beautiful. All right, next question.
Cassandra.
What famous person got political asylum from Ecuador? Looks like Thomas got it.
Miss Thomas, did you? Okay, thank you.
It was Mr. Thomas.
What is your answer?
Mr. Thomas, what's your answer?
Sandre.
Yeah, that's it. Julian Assange.
Sandre, yeah.
Good job, Mr. Thomas.
Y'all remember him? He was the one with WikiLeaks. Remember that? It was Ecuador that gave him asylum. He lived in their embassy in London for years and years and years.
Mr. Harold gave a thumbs up. He remembers.
Okay, I think we're getting down to the last question. Here we go. You ready? This next question, I'm testing your memory from the past trivia contest. This is a test of your memory from the past.
Thank you, Brenda. What is the answer?
Dan Quayle.
That's right. He'll be our laughing stock for the next few sessions here.
Oh, well, thank you, Brenda, so much. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oops.
All right, Alex, all yours. Take it away.
All right. Well, again, thank you all so much for participating today in our trivia, and congratulations to our folks that were able to answer a question correctly. Again, you all are so smart and definitely didn't have any doubts of you all being able to find those answers. And that's what the iPad is for. So thank you so much for that. As always, we are going to do our wheel, and one of you all will win a prize today. And I know that some of the prizes lately have been, some before, so we look forward to having some additional things in the future. But for now, again, thank you to Mr. Harrell, Ms. Clement, Ms. Ann, Ms. Cassandra, Mr. Thomas, and Ms. Brenda for answering a question correctly. So let's see who wins a prize today. I swear, Mr. Thomas, you are one lucky guy.
He really is. I think he wins every week.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you so much. You won a prize today, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, see, so far you won a pair of headphones. So again, congratulations for winning your prize today.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you, Mr. Thomas, and thank you for participating in our session today. And thank you, Lou, for hosting as always. I really look forward to our next trip where you'll actually be out of the country and be able to showcase Tanzania and the work that you all be doing. So please, everyone on the call, make sure you tell your other participants to come on next Friday at 12. And again, let's thank Lou for presenting today's session. See you all at 1:30.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We enjoyed
Thank
it.
you, Lou.
Thank you, Lou.
Be
For
safe.
your,
Thank you,
All
Lou.
right.
Travel
All right.
today.
See you
wish
for
I could go
Tanzania
with
next week.
you.
Next
Be
week in
safe.
Tanzania. See you.
travel
What
safe,
Tanzania.
Godspeed.
Oh, thank
What
you.
hat did
Bless you.
what hat did you have on, Lou? What hat did you wear this week?
Oh, that's the castles, Washington
Oh.
Castles.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I just want to keep. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Have
know
a
that's
safe
right.
trip, kiddo.
Thank you, Lou. Safe travels.
All right. Bye, everybody.
My son-in-law is from Tanzania.
Yes. Hopefully you all come on. And again, I'll see you all at 1:30 today for Module 6. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Later, y'all.